Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ben Chapman, and welcome to my predictions for the 2021 Royal Rumble. If you're new around here, make sure to subscribe for daily Total Extreme Wrestling booking content. And coming up was going to be more frequent wrestling chats like this, where it's actually my face and not just the video game and my voice. Let me, if you enjoy this content, make sure to like so I know that you guys want more of this actual real-life wrestling chat. Subscribe if you're new around here, as I said, and let me know in your comments what your predictions for the Royal Rumble are. Starting off with the Women's Tag Team Championship, as the champions Asuka and Charlotte Flair defend against the former champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Now, hot take, but in my opinion, Asuka and Charlotte Flair's reigns with the Tag Team Championship might have been the worst to date, which, considering the checkered history of those belts, is saying something. But at least all of the other teams, like Asuka and Kairi Sane, Sasha and Bayley, the Iconics, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, and to an extent Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, felt like teams. Like, even though Jax and Baszler were thrown together, they were still in the same storyline. They were still in segments together. Whereas Charlotte and Asuka aren't. They've gone off in their two separate ways whilst holding the tag titles. Charlotte Flair's feuding with Lacey Evans over Ric Flair being horny. And Asuka's been involved with the Alexa Bliss vs Randy Orton feud. For instance, on this Monday, Charlotte Flair got beaten down by Jax and Baszler, and it wasn't even Asuka who came out to make the save. It was Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. So honestly, I believe at the Royal Rumble, they're going to take the titles off of Flair and Asuka, put them back onto Jax and Baszler, but at this point, does it matter? Are they anything more than just a prop at this point? So my prediction is Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Next up, for the SmackDown Women's Championship, we have Carmella challenging Sasha Banks. Now, the storyline kind of feels like it's in a bit of a hangover period from what was kind of the payoff to their first bit of the storyline at TLC. And whilst the Reginald involvement has been fun, and that match he had with Banks was honestly impressive for his Cirque du Soleil style of the sort of escapism, the go-home angle with Sasha almost flirting with him felt out of character and out of place in this storyline. And, you know, the match itself, I'm pretty certain, is going to be brilliant. Could be match of the night, not including the Rumble matches, because Rumble matches are always amazing. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that Sasha Banks is going to win this. And, you know, Carmella might win this, and I'll be sat here with egg on my face. But I just don't see that happening. I don't see Carmella as the SmackDown Women's Champion right now. I feel like Sasha's got it. So my prediction, the SmackDown Women's Championship match is Sasha Banks retains. Now, the WWE Championship is also on the line on the show as Drew McIntyre defends against the returning Goldberg. Goldberg doing his frequent act of turning up and challenging for a title he really should be nowhere near. But unfortunately, it's always ended with Big Bill picking up the win on the road to WrestleMania, beating Kevin Owens and The Fiend for both for the Universal Championship. Now, this history has been brought up in this feud, so it's not like they're ignoring this. But the feud itself has been sidelined due to Drew McIntyre's legitimate positive COVID-19 test. But them bringing up that Goldberg's always beaten the new champion when he comes back could be a sign that Drew's retaining. Because, you know, when somebody mentions something like that, often that's a sign that it's going to break. For instance, whenever the commentators are mentioning how long somebody's held the title for, that usually means they're about to lose it. However, in this same storyline, they've also been bringing up the fact that Goldberg has never won the WWE Championship, with, as aforementioned, his victories against Kevin Owens and The Fiend both being for the Universal Championship. And in his first run, he beat Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship and beat Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship. Again, none of them are the WWE titles, separate lineages. So, part of me has this sickening feeling that Goldberg wins here, but then Drew McIntyre wins it back at WrestleMania in front of crowds. And there's also been a speculation going around that Goldberg wins and Brock Lesnar wins the Royal Rumble to face Goldberg at WrestleMania, which is scary, it's absolutely terrifying, but I don't see it, to be honest. I don't personally see Brock Lesnar as winning the Rumble. For the simple fact, his entire Rumble skit last year was him throwing out every single person individually, so he barely had to do any work. So, whilst he might have gone for over 20 minutes, he didn't really do much. A lot of that time was just waiting and taunting. And then he took a couple, maybe like 3 bumps in the entire match. So, Brock Lesnar coming in at this point of his career into a stacked ring for the Royal Rumble near the end of the match to win it doesn't seem likely to me. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Goldberg does win the title here. But I don't think I can look past Drew McIntyre, who has proven over the past year to be the company's choice as top babyface. And it's a choice of top babyface which the fans are actually getting behind, which WWE has struggled with for about 20 years. So the fact that they've got that makes me feel like they're not gonna feed him to Goldberg, because they finally got someone who could be a top star for them. So my prediction is Drew McIntyre. Over on SmackDown, however, the Universal title's on the line, as the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns takes on the prize fighter Kevin Owens. Hilariously, this isn't the first time these two have fought for this title at this pay-per-view. With 4 years ago, Kevin Owens defended his Universal Championship against Roman Reigns in a no DQ match with Chris Jericho suspended above the ring in a shark cage at the 2017 Royal Rumble. Whereas the tables have turned now, and Roman Reigns is the heel, Kevin Owens is the babyface, and this match this Sunday, or tonight, is a last man standing match, which could protect either guy. You know? It could easily protect either guy. Like, look at the Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa last man standing match, where Ciampa won, but Gargano didn't feel like he had lost, because obviously it's such a brawling match. Storyline, of course, has probably going to have a lot of outside interference with both Adam Pearce, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman all being involved in this storyline. I wouldn't be surprised if they get involved in the match. And, you know, the impact which Paul Heyman and Jey Uso have made to Roman Reigns' character, despite most of the work being Roman. I'll admit, most of this work has been Roman. But the impact which Paul Heyman and Jey Uso have had has been amazing to his storyline. And it's that storyline which is why I cannot see Kevin Owens picking up the title. Roman's Tribal Chief character requires him to be feared. Not quite like The Fiend is feared, but feared in a respectful way. And whilst Kevin Owens should absolutely be pushing Roman Reigns to his limit, because Kevin Owens is one of the few main event people which WWE really have, which is saying something, because in my opinion he's probably only upper mid cards. He's not a main event guy. So Kevin Owens needs to push him to his limit. It's too soon for Roman to be losing the Universal title. Honestly, part of me could see this title going on for years. This title reign going WrestleMania next year, maybe. Holding it for even a lot, like going through 2 WrestleManias as champion, which hasn't happened since, God, maybe Hogan in the original 2 WrestleManias. WrestleMania was the last person to WrestleMania 2 and 3 would be the last time the same reign as as a world champion. I'm not 100% certain on that, so don't hold me to it. So yeah, so Roman is my prediction for this match. It's Roman Reigns. And finally, on a small card, because obviously the 2 Rumble matches are the big occasion here, We have 2 Royal Rumble matches. We know who the number 1 and 2 are for the men, and the number 30 for the women. But this year, for the first time in a long time, I'm not confident on a pick for the Royal Rumble winner. Last year, I was pretty certain it was going to be Drew, and I thought it was going to be Shayna. It was Charlotte, so I think everyone made that one. The year before, I was confident it was going to be Seth and Becky. The year before, I was confident it was going to be Shinsuke and Asuka. But this year, I don't know. I honestly have no clue. But I can't tell if that's good storyline, good storytelling, meaning there's so many different directions they can go into WrestleMania, or sheer incompetence that they clearly don't have any plans for WrestleMania yet. And sadly, it kind of looks like the latter more than the former. In the Women's Royal Rumble, I can narrow it down to maybe 5. On SmackDown, you've got Bianca Belair, a victory for Bianca Belair would be a massive push into the main event scene for her after her brilliant Iron Woman performance last year. And I think a storyline between her and Banks, and eventual match at WrestleMania, could be amazing. I feel like those two would have phenomenal chemistry and would work really well together. Secondly, from SmackDown, it could be Bayley, because I feel like the storyline between her and Sasha deserves a WrestleMania payoff. It deserves to at least have a match at WrestleMania after all of the years they've been telling the story. Some years well, some years not as well, but for such a long storyline, it deserves a payoff at Mania. So I think Bayley could win the Royal Rumble. On Raw, it's between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Alexa Bliss, because of her new Fiend-esque gimmick and beating Asuka a few weeks ago and pushing Asuka to the limit this Monday, gone. But part of me also thinks that Randy Orton could get involved in the Women's Royal Rumble and eliminate Alexa Bliss, meaning she won't win. Therefore, Charlotte Flair is the other person from Raw. Charlotte Flair, of course, is a tag team-ish with Asuka at the moment, and could easily win for the second year in a row. And there's no crowds, so they wouldn't even be able to get backlash. But could Charlotte Flair wait until WrestleMania to get that women's title shot? She's pretty much already in that storyline now. And then we go to what happened on Backstage last night, where there was a match for the number 30 spot in the Women's Royal Rumble between Natalya and Tamina, which firstly makes no sense considering they are a tag team at the moment. But also, Natalya won. Natalya is number 30. Feels like a bait and switch. It feels so anticlimactic that there's going to be a bait and switch. Last time they revealed who the number 30 was going to be was in 2019, where both of the number 30 spots were involved in a bait and switch. Carmella came out as number 30, but she wasn't the last entrance, because when Lana got injured at 28, Becky Lynch, after Carmella was already in the ring, took Lana's spot, making her the last entrant into the Rumble. In the men's match, R-Truth was the number 30, and Nia Jax came up and attacked Truth, entering herself into the men's Rumble. So them announcing the number 30 is often involved in a bait and switch. Recently, at least. So I believe, and this is just a theory, this is just speculation, because Natalya won the number 30 spot, what if she was to not use it for herself? Give it to her best friend. And I'm not talking about Tamina or Lana, who was her previous best friend before that. I'm talking going back to 2018. Ronda Rousey comes in at takes Natalya's spot as the number 30 in the Women's Royal Rumble. Wins the match. Charlotte Flair wins the Raw Women's title from Asuka at some point because they don't care about Asuka. And WWE finally gets to do the Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair match they've wanted to do since Ronda Rousey signed with them. And since, in their opinion, Becky Lynch ruined it. So my prediction for the Women's Royal Rumble is Ronda Rousey. On the men's side, however, there are even more options, to be honest. On Raw, you can have Keith Lee, Sheamus, Brock Lesnar, as I've already mentioned, Randy Orton, Edge, The Fiend Bray Wyatt. So, I'm going to try and use, on each brand, I'm going to try and have process of elimination. The Fiend Bray Wyatt, I don't believe is actually going to be an entrant into the match. I don't think he's going to enter in. I think he's going to get involved with Randy Orton. I don't think he's going to be an entrant, though. Randy Orton is starting off with Edge. As I've just mentioned, though, his Fiend involvement is why I don't think he's going to win. Edge is starting off with Orton. And as a simple fact, at his age, he ain't doing an Iron Man performance. We had the boring Last Man Standing match, but that was pre-recorded, that was edited, they could have done it in so many takes, and there was breaks between takes. Last Man Standing match, in a live match, Edge is not going over an hour because of his age. Unfortunately, I'd love to see Edge win, but because he's coming in at number 2, it's not happening. Brock Lesnar, I already mentioned earlier why I don't believe he's winning the Rumble. And Sheamus and Keith Lee could easily be in a storyline with Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But I don't think they need the Rumble win to get there. Sheamus has already had his Rumble win in 2012. Keith Lee will be a great choice for the Rumble, and I think he's going to be in the final 2 with the person who I think is going to win it. But I don't think he is going to win. He might get a big elimination on some people, but just a big showing with lots of eliminations. I don't think Keith Lee is going to win, though. So that rules out my Raw people. On SmackDown, 4 options even. Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, Jimmy Uso, and Daniel Bryan. Cesaro has just been pushed really strongly recently on SmackDown, and feels like one of the few people who has a lot of momentum going into the event. And would I like to see a Roman Reigns versus Cesaro match at WrestleMania? Of course I fucking would. Simple as that. Shinsuke Nakamura, of course, has already kind of got a bit of a storyline with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. As it was as Uso and Reigns will beat down Nakamura as the final entrant into the Gauntlet match to try and force Adam Pearce into the Universal Championship match. And Nakamura sort of continued that sort of feud with Jey Uso in the following weeks. Jimmy Uso's, for obvious reasons, I doubt it's going to happen. But imagine that. Roman Reigns has already pushed Jey Uso up to an upper mid-card singles star. Jimmy Uso could get that same storyline, and this time with Jey on the other side, his literal twin brother. That could be good. And then the person who I think, and it is going to be my prediction, is Daniel Bryan. Because, Daniel Bryan deserves a Royal Rumble victory. It's 7 years too late if it happens this year, but he deserves it. And the fact there's no crowd is going to be a shame, but I honestly can't see past Bryan, which is honestly quite reassuring. It's been a long time since I've looked at, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's been a long time since I've looked at Daniel Bryan and thought that could be a main event match of WrestleMania. And that's what I want from Daniel Bryan. Oh, he's a main eventer. He's main evented WrestleMania before. He's won his big WrestleMania main event before, so I don't think he's going to win it this time. No matter what happens, I think Roman Reigns is winning at WrestleMania. So I think Bryan is the person who gives him the most heel heat. So that, my prediction for the Men's Royal Rumble is Daniel Bryan. So there we have it, my predictions for the 2021 Royal Rumble. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and what are your predictions? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!